So I started doing a video, which I'll probably drop tomorrow, where I kind of talk about the slow it down technique that Conceited is really well known for using. But while I was doing that video, it is really difficult for me to communicate to other people if we're not on the same page about what certain words mean. So technically this video does not really have a battle rap technique. I kind of want to get some terminology out of the way, but I didn't want to have a whole long explanation in my Conceited video, so I'm going to do all that in this video. When talking to people in the battle rap community, I've seen all of these words get used in different ways. I've seen people call similes punchlines, metaphors punchlines, double entendres wordplay. I want to give you my definition of these words, so if you ever hear me say any of these words, you know what I'm talking about. You don't necessarily have to agree with my definition, but there are some differences in the way that these techniques are applied, and if I don't have a word that can describe them, I can't communicate to other people what it is I'm talking about. Number one, you will almost never hear me use the word metaphor or simile. To me, both of those words are poetry words. They share a likeness to punchlines, but they are not punchlines. I think some people get it confused because the most common form of a punchline tends to be X like Y, and people think, okay, because the word like is in it, a punchline must be a simile. I disagree. A simile is something like this. He says, I'll break a motherfucker like a plastic spoon. There is no double meaning here. There's no misdirection. There's no wordplay. That is a simile. He's saying that he's going to break somebody like a plastic spoon. But the word break only has one meaning. If you snap a spoon, it is broken. He's saying that he's going to leave this person broken. One word, one meaning. Basically saying, I'm going to break you like something that is easy to break. A metaphor, something like the phrase, love is a battlefield. I might as well credit Pat Benatar. Again, there's not really a double meaning in the word love. There's not a double meaning in the word battlefield. All they're saying is that the conditions around being in love is like being in a battlefield. That being said, these are the words I tend to use a lot more when talking about battle rap. The word double entendre is kind of a very abstract phrase to me. Anytime there's two different meanings, I'm willing to call that a double entendre. It doesn't matter if it's a punchline, it doesn't matter if it's a scheme, it doesn't matter if it involves wordplay. If there's two different meanings, I'm willing to call that a double entendre. There are different types of double entendres. So if I did a candy brand scheme, maybe it would be something like ran up on them nerds with an AK, let it ring pop, then dipped off with 100 grand in a payday. All I'm really doing is peppering in different words into what I'm saying, but there's no real misdirection. I'm not trying to sneak things into people's head. Once people realize that I'm doing a scheme about candy brands, the audience will probably tune in a little bit more and start listening for different brands of candy. Maybe after that I say the word warhead or lifesaver. But typically, you're not going to be surprised if somebody's doing a scheme about a bunch of brands of candy, and the next thing you hear is a brand of candy. So I do consider these all to be double entendres, because they do have two meanings. In one context, you're talking about a brand of candy, but the double entendre is really only within one word. The double entendre is not the whole phrase. When I think of a punchline, a well-constructed punchline, typically the double entendre is an entire phrase. For a punchline, I'm going to reiterate a little bit of what I said in the intro video. The most common structure for a punchline is X like Y. There are many different ways of formatting a punch, but I want to focus on this because it makes it easy to understand why a punchline works. X will typically be an entire phrase, not a word like a scheme, a phrase. So for example, I'm the talk of the town. My personal opinion is that when you're doing a punchline, it should come off very naturally. Almost everything when you write should come off naturally. If you're writing and your material doesn't sound like the way that a normal person talks, to me, that's like an artist that tries to paint an apple that looks nothing like an apple. It is your job as an artist to know how to recreate reality in your art. You know, a stick figure and the Mona Lisa are two different ways of drawing a human being, but one of them looks a lot like a human being and the other is a stick figure. So if you're writing lyrics that do not sound like the way that people talk, in my eyes, you're kind of equivalent to an artist that only knows how to draw stick figures. And this is a great example because there's nothing here that looks like it's out of place. This is going to be a quote from B Magic, and I 100% believe that B Magic would walk into a barbershop or whatever and say, I'm the talk of the town. Just bragging. The most common thing I see that separates a decent punchline from an incredible punchline is this, an understanding of this, knowing how to make it sound natural. And what's wild is I've left this up on the screen for a while. I know maybe some people have figured it out. Maybe some people have already heard the bar before, but I'm sure if enough people watch this, about 50, 60, maybe even 70% of people still don't know where this line is going. And that's how well B Magic wrote this fucking line. It's a simple line, which is why I love it. And the full line is basically, I'm the talk of the town, like an accent. So the Y here would be an accent. Now, all of this happens really, really quickly. I'm purposely using this video to make the entire process go a lot slower because that happens in a fraction of a second. What happens is B Magic says, I'm the talk of the town. People don't even think about what the double meaning is. So it's basically a Trojan horse. He's taking it, he's sneaking the double meaning into your head. And to the best of your knowledge, you only process one of those two meanings. Then, when he says the word an accent, that requires that you go all the way back, revisit what he put into your head. And then that's when all the soldiers pop out of the Trojan horse. I'm the talk of the town like an accent. Holy shit, there's a second meaning there. An accent describes the way people within a town all talk. The last term that I want to clarify is the word wordplay. Because if you ever hear me talk about the word wordplay, I'm referring to a very specific technique. For example, popularize a ghost. When I talk about wordplay, typically I'm talking about phonetically breaking words apart or modifying words in a way to create a double meaning or create a double entendre. So instead of the word popularize, you might do pop, you'll arise. So the line might be something like, I got a magnum grip. When it pop, you'll arise a ghost like Casper did. And this is still a punchline. You can have wordplay within a punchline. So the X will be popularize or popularize. Again, there's a double meaning there. And then the Y would be Casper. And the word did is only there to help out the rhyme. But the punchline itself works with or without that word. So you can have wordplay within a punchline. And likewise, if you ever see somebody do something like will and wheel, a very common one for a while was hair and here. I think when you start bending words and trying to get them to sound like other phrases or words, I also consider that to be wordplay. So here's one more example of wordplay being utilized within an X like Y formatted punchline. This one is from Rum Nitty, basically saying that y'all love copying with the shit that y'all write because they really envy our life like an Oculus. Again, it is a punchline because it acts like a Trojan horse. When he says they really envy our life, you haven't even thought to yourself, oh, he's saying the word VR, because he basically puts it into your head without you knowing about it. Then when he actually says the word Oculus, then you kind of have to reanalyze what it was he said, and then you'll catch the double meaning. But the process of taking a phrase like envy our life and breaking the words apart in VR, that to me is wordplay. If you ever hear me talk about wordplay, that is what I'm talking about.